morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this globe. I am Rose Smith, the Events and Community Manager at Femme Palette. Femme Palette has been helping women grow in their careers since 2018, and the DEI Palette Club was launched by Femme Palette to help experts and enthusiasts in the DEI field come together. You can find out more about Femme Palette and the DEI Palette Club through our website and social media channels. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to our event on how to be an authentic ally, demonstrating inclusive allyship. With us today are Magda, Stega, DEI consultant and impact-driven transgender advocate, Kimberly Johnson, climate strategy campaign lead at NatWest Group, and Rana, Oszeker, the founder of RNA Change Management, as well as a change, transformation, and impact management professionals. This was just a very brief introduction of our speakers. To begin our conversation, I thought it would be best to ask our speakers to tell us a little bit more about themselves, to give you an idea of where they're coming from when it comes to authentic allyship. Let's begin with Magda, followed by Rana, and then Kimberly.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you. So my name is Magda, and my pronouns are she, her. What I'm doing, I'm helping companies to understand better LGBTQ plus individuals, and I'm traveling across Europe with a huge appetite for the US to help companies better understand our issues, what we are going through in our life, and make our life easier. So yeah, that's me, and thank you for coming here and listening it. Thank you.
Let's have Rana next.
Hi, everyone. Hello. Thank you, Rose, for the invite and the opportunity to voice my opinion and share my experiences. I really like speaking, you will see. So I'm going to try to control myself and keep it short in order to let Magda and Kim speak. So don't worry. Yeah, I'm a change, transformation, and impact professional. I also work with organizations and I help them during their change and transformation journeys. I work with leaders in order to help them navigate the company toward their vision of change. So, you know, most of the time, in order to change the company, in order to make a change in the company, you have to work with people because you have to work with values, behaviors, and, you know, mindset. That's what I do. I'm mainly interested and focused on cultural transformation. I really like to work to create a culture of inclusion, a culture of innovation, a culture focused on sustainability. So that's what I like to do. And since my background is in finance, I also work with female founders. I mentor them in creating business and revenue models that integrate purpose, impact, and profit. So apart from business, I'm a mother. I have a daughter. She's 25 years old, a young woman. And my passion lies in women's inclusion to economy. I do anything to help them have their financial freedom and their choice of life as they want. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's me. Kim, it's up to you now.
Thank you, Rana. So I'm Kim Johnson and I work at NatWest Group. So I'm coming at this from a slightly different perspective because I don't formally work in DEI, but I work in financial services as a Black female, which comes with its own unique host of challenges, although my organization has been incredibly supportive to me over the years. And yeah, so I'm kind of bringing more of a personal view. I have been involved in some of my company's diversity and inclusion initiatives. I work in brand strategy and marketing, specifically focused on climate and sustainability in the bank. And kind of in previous roles that I've held, I've supported on creating kind of guidelines for how the company should represent all types of people in our advertising, how we should communicate to people from all walks of life in the right way. So kind of coming at it from both a personal perspective and a professional perspective as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Magda, Rana, and Kim. I'm sure that the discussion is going to be very enriching, considering the diverse perspectives that you three would be bringing into this event. So I guess we don't have a lot of time. We only have an hour for this event. So to start off our discussion, I'd like to ask you, what does it mean to be an authentic ally? So maybe we could start from there and then move on to more specific topics. Let's begin with Kim, Magda, and then Rana.
So to me, an authentic ally is an active ally. It's rooted in action. So the complete opposite to someone that shows passive allyship. So it's someone who doesn't just empathize with you, but they also act on their empathy. They see your struggle as their struggle. They see your fight as their fight. And they support you when you flag an issue. They don't try to play down the situation or kind of reduce the significance of your emotions or your reactions to a certain situation. And I think it's as simple as being a good citizen, being a good human, showing empathy, compassion, and understanding. I think it's also about recognizing your privileges, but also your blind spots, and doing your best to really lift others up. Being an ally as well, it's sometimes comes at a sacrifice. So are you willing to put your head above the parapet and support someone else who might not be getting support from other people in the room, even if it costs you something, even if it might lead to some sort of conflict or confrontation? I think it's really about thinking, am I really going to kind of step up and support people regardless of whether it's going to have a negative impact on me personally?
So I think I would add that it's very important to think about other values like trust, safety, because as Kim said, like we should, I would add that we should to always be safe. So for example, if people would like to be an ally, they should be safe. So for example, I can give an example from my life that I'm always thinking about myself for other people from LGBT plus community as ally. So once I started to say what I'm thinking, because I've heard like in one Polish club that people said like, oh, faggot are coming here, and it was LGBT plus club, and I said like, no way, I will not listen to it. But you know, it was a party and some people started to be aggressive. So my recommendation here is like, please think if it's a safe space and it's a right moment to be an ally, because sometimes it could be danger for some people. But it can change, and from my perspective, it's very important that the person will okay, so it's better to have one ally who will support us and will be active in their action than someone who just saying is an ally and is not doing anything to help, for example, to educate themselves in some topic. So for example, here, if you are with us, so it's one of the first steps to educate yourself. And another thing is about action that we already talked. Thank you.
Okay, so my turn. Okay, so you know, I totally agree with Kim. I totally agree with Magda. There are just a few things I would add, but that's all. You know, when I first looked at, you know, what ally mean, when I first read an article in 2018, I have learned that the word ally comes from a Latin word, alligare, alligare. So, and it means to bind to. So that means commitment to me. And, you know, an authentic ally for me is committed. So it's not just one thing and then go back to your comfort zone, but it's, you know, one action after another. So it's a continuous support, continuous being a continuous advocate. So this is, I believe, this is really important if you want to be an authentic, a true, and honest ally. Another, like both Kim and Magda said, to be active. We are not looking for bystander. We are looking for upstanders. So you gotta do something. You gotta work for that cause or for that group. And then, you know, one more thing I believe is extremely important to be an authentic ally is that by definition, you are actively supporting a marginalized group of people you are not part of. So if you are not part of, how will you know what they feel, what they need? You know, the last thing I would suggest is to assume. So if we're not going to assume, then we need to learn, listen, ask questions, understand the needs, and then, you know, empathize. So these are also important when it comes to be an authentic ally, in my opinion, because no one knows how it feels to be in their place. I have no idea how it feels to be, I don't know, to be, for example, instead of Kim. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm sure you don't know what it feels to be a Muslim woman in a country like Turkey. So we all have our, you know, our issues. So we need to ask, we need to learn, we need to listen. I need to hear what you need. So another thing is the privilege, but also the power. My job is cultural transformation. I do a lot of cultural transformation projects. And what I can say to you is it's always easier if you start, if you convince, if you have a sponsor from a power point, you know, position with you. So an authentic ally would be better if with the privilege, he or she has the power. So I would look for power in an authentic ally. And lastly, to me, if you are an authentic ally, an honest one, you should look to create a culture of inclusion and belonging. I do care that word. The sense of belonging is really important to me. And I have a friend, and she has a very striking definition of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I'm going to share that with you, and you will understand what I mean. She says, diversity is I dance, you dance. So inclusion is we dance together. But belonging, I dance however the hell I want because I know that you're going to accept me as I am. So if you are an authentic ally, you work with the aim to create that feeling, you know, in where you are working and you are living. So that's what authentic ally means to me.
I think I would like to add one thing more, like openness. Maybe
Oh,
we touch it, but like to say it loud, like openness and trying to control our biases because we are coming from different cultures. And of course, we do have them, and it's about controlling them and trying to be more conscious. Yeah, because in many cases, people are saying that they are, open, and for them, is it something what I'm mostly hearing from the companies? We do not care what type of people we will hire, what type of people, I mean, like what is the sexual orientation or gender identity of the people, but in the same time they are, for example, saying like, are you safe with your family? But what that means, a family in the context of LGBTQ plus individuals, for example, it's not very common for cis people the term chosen family. So everyone would like to be included, and it's a question how we can include people who are excluded. But yeah, so openness and a big open heart is like very, very important.
Can I just add one other thing? I think it's also about recognizing that there are many different aspects of diversity, and I often see divisiveness online or certain groups being pitted against other marginalized groups. And I think it's about recognizing that everybody's experience is different, but they're all equally valid as well.
Wow, I love how our first question has already generated a lot of discussion even amongst our speakers. So this is definitely going to be a very enriching session. And a lot, I think all of you touched upon action-based allyship, and a lot of people claim that they are allies, but they do it more in a performative way. So how can people avoid performative allyship? How can they actually avoid just saying that they're an ally, but just putting it on LinkedIn and not really having any action behind it? So for this question, let's start with Rana, followed by Kim, and then Magda.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. That's performative allyship. You know, we hear it a lot, and you know, to me, the main difference is, again, the intent. You know, when you look at the definition of performative allyship, it says that, you know, when a person takes steps to support for a marginalized group, when there is something in it for them. So you are doing it for show, you are doing it for the, you know, for the likes, for the fame, for the love, or whatever you are looking for. So what is the aim? What is the intent? That would be my first point of understanding, questioning the said support. I mean, just ask that question to you. Who is the subject of your support? If I do that, I will, you know, I will get so many likes in social media. I will be recognized, you know, as a sensitive leader. So are you the subject, or are those group of people the subject of these support, these actions? I will help them get their voice. I will help them get equal opportunities. So is it about you or is it about these people? That would be my question to understand whether what I'm doing can be defined as an authentic allyship or a performative one. So today, you know, the performative allyship can be seen mainly in social media. There are so many behaviors that can go within the scope of performative allyship, but you know, I would look at all those posts and gestures, you know, gestures. So I would look at all those verbs and then having those likes and, you know, retweeting, etc. So I am living it. I have lived it recently. You know, in Turkey, few months ago, we had a drastic earthquake in 11 cities. We have lost thousands and thousands of people. And one of the cities, you know, you cannot find it in the map right now. And then if you look at the people, what people have shared at that time, you can easily see that these sad musics and their crying pictures. But then if you reach out to them and ask what they have done, nothing. This is performative allyship. And in workplace, you can see it. I see it all the time. You know, some leaders want to create a culture of innovation, they say, but then when someone tries something new and make a mistake, you know, they try to fire that person because he tried to be or she tried to be innovative. So, yeah, I mean, how can you avoid it? Ask those questions to yourself and ask yourself whether you want to be really an ally. Are you up to, you know, to have that responsibility? Do you really want to be with those people? Are you ready to spare time for them? Are you ready to up and speak up and, you know, yeah. So these are the questions. If you can answer those questions, then it means you have made your choice. And yeah, go on then.
Is it me next?
Yes.
I think Rana made some really, really pertinent points, and a lot of what I have to say will just support what she said. But I think it's really about doing your own critical thinking about issues that affect not just yourself, but other people, and to really do your research. And to Rana's point, if you're really going to stand up and call yourself an ally, then you need to have a real understanding of the issues that certain groups are facing. I also think that just going back to the social media point in particular, it's really important to diversify your influences. So look at who you're following on social media. Is it an echo chamber of people who look and sound just like you? Is it, you know, are there specific issues that you're kind of overrepresented on in social media? And are there other issues that you could be seeking out different creators and kind of using that as something to learn from? And I think it's really important to just read about all types of perspectives and experiences, and to just remember that you're always going to have blind spots, and just to keep learning, because it's a constant journey. Nobody has this done. There's no checkbox completed being an ally. It's a constant learning curve. So the more you can read and learn, the better. And I think avoiding performative allyship is about when you see something and when you notice something, really offering your support. So it goes back to that point around taking action. If it's safe to do so, don't just sit there in silence, because silence is just as much of a message as speaking up. It's not a get out of jail free card. It's sending a signal. And I also think, again, going back to social media, don't just jump on trends or co-opt the language of protest and oppression without really understanding what you're talking about and without doing your own research and truly researching the issues. There's a lot of kind of, especially after the murder of George Floyd, there's a lot of noise on social media and people kind of saying things but not really understanding what they're saying or what they mean, and kind of using the language around protest and oppression, and it can be very distasteful. So I think it's words matter, and it's important to really understand what you're saying. Magda?
Yeah, it's hard to say anything like new right now, but yeah. It's so I can share with you my personal experience. I was born in Poland, and here, like, we do not have a lot ally who are cis straight guys, which is for me like very sad because I'm into straight white guys. I mean, like, I'm into guys, and in many conversation which I had, like, they show they interested like at my apartment and when people are not watching and listening. And I realized I don't want to live in that kind of world. And what I'm planning to do, I will make a plan to move somewhere abroad. So what I'm trying to say by that is, like, you can find people like and the groups that you are belonging to. And for many years, it was hard for me to be a part of the community. And when I lived abroad in London for a year and a half, I met a transgender person. It was the first transgender person in my life. And it totally changed my life and my life path. So um, the main clue here is try to find the place where you are feeling good, where people are good for you. And this is why I'm traveling, and I'm still looking for the perfect place or places for me where I will be appreciated by who I am, because it is still hard for me to accept in my own country I will not have what I'm looking for. But we have one life, and it's no time to waste it. And yeah, this is what I would like to share as my personal experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. It really is indeed hard to be the last one to answer, especially this is in all of our events. The last person who answers is like, I'm just almost like exhausted. All the answers have been exhausted, but as we can see, it's not really exhausted. Everybody always has something to add at the end of the day. I think in the previous question, we did also touch upon how examples of performative allyship can be transformed into authentic allyship. And now let's get into something more constructive, especially in the workplace. A lot of people tend to underestimate their own power when it comes to creating real cultural change in the workplace. So for those who are genuinely authentic allies, what concrete steps can they do at the workplace starting tomorrow? So here, I'd like to ask our speakers what advice they'd like to give those who are with us here on Zoom, that they can already start doing something more authentic, something that is not performative, but something they can do at the workplace. So let's start with, I guess, Kim, Magda, and then Rana.
Thank you. So I think individuals really have a lot more power than they think they have. And speaking from personal experience, if you've ever been in a situation where you felt like your voice isn't being heard, you felt overlooked, talked over, and somebody notices and they use their voice to amplify your voice, that's a really amazing feeling. And I don't think that that should be underestimated, the impact that you can have by taking a seemingly very small action. You can completely transform someone's experience. I think it's, as I said in the previous question, it's important to remember that silence is also a message. To me, if you're silent, if you see something and you're silent, then it means that you're okay with the status quo. So you need to ask yourself, are you actually okay with the status quo? And if you're not, then what are you going to do about it to change it? I think it's really about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Most people don't like conflict, but sometimes a little bit of challenge is what's needed to really diffuse or rectify a situation. And remember that even allies have blind spots, so never make the mistake of thinking that you don't. And even if you identify as being from a marginalized group, you don't have, there's not one plane of experience when it comes to diversity and inclusion. You can't possibly understand everything that's out there. So you need to be aware that you're going to have weaknesses as well. So it's really about listening, learning, asking the right questions in a sensitive way and with compassion, and be willing to amplify other people's voices. And then one last point, I think it's really important to be okay with not being perfect or not getting things right all the time. We're all learning and we're all navigating a rapidly changing world. No one's going to get things right all the time, and that's okay. It's all about the intention, going back to a point that Rana made earlier. As long as it comes from a good place and you're willing to be challenged, I think particularly in today's day and age with the social media culture that we live in, people need to be more comfortable with having their views challenged and be willing to, instead of doubling down in your views, be willing to change your views if you're convinced. And I think that we could all benefit from a bit more flexibility in our views and opinions.
So I would like to add here like 3 things. Like the first is about small actions can bring a big impact. So for example, I've listened from many people that they don't understand why pronouns matter. So I would like to ask here on the chat, is there anyone who doesn't understand why the pronouns are so important? If we have at once the answer no, I will try to explain it. Do we have anyone that do not understand? I mean, like, I can assume yes, because some people didn't use the pronouns here when we have information about the name. So for example, again, I can share my experience. So when I was born, my parents gave me a name Maciej, which is like typical for someone who was assigned at birth as a male. And when I started my transition, it was in May 2021. So a few days ago, I celebrated a 2nd anniversary. And I had to each day explain to everyone that my name is Ma and my pronouns are she, her. So it was, I felt exhausted. After repeated like 100 times, I felt do not understand by many people, because sometimes I've heard comments, but you look like so masculine, or your voice, it's such masculine. And here, maybe it's a good explanation why for some people it's such important. And last but not least is I'm privileged because in January 2023, I received the right ID with a gender female and a name Magda. But some transgender people or non-binary people are not able to go through the process And if you were assessed by their ID, it's such uncomfortable for them. And according to some data, if people respect the pronouns and let's say preferred name, we do have, oh my God, it's very a hard word in English to repeat it, like 37% of people are less, oh my God, suicidal. Is it that that word in English? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Suicide.
Suicide?
Suicide, yeah, thank you for, yeah. So when people respect the name and the pronouns, 37 of transgender people are less thinking about it. So it's about changing their daily life. And the last thing here, for example, probably some of them, because I saw a comment, one person is a leading employee resources group. So at some corporates, we do have employee resources groups. So for example, if you are looking for shared experience, in some cities, in some countries, you have a network of employee resources groups. So you can easily find other individuals to share your experience, to learn from other companies, to be a better ally. So it's not only that you can do at your workplace, but you can try to find other connections with other like-minded people to share your ideas in a safe space.
Hey, so yeah, you are right, Rose. It's always difficult to be the last one speaking. Uh, I'm not going to repeat everything Kim and Magda said, but I will just say that there is a quote from Socrates I really like. He said, "Wisdom starts with wonder." Do you want to be a genuinely and authentic ally? Just be curious and look for it. Read, ask, listen, and then you can decide whether you really want to go on or stop. And if you want to go further, then you need to face your fear. You need to pay attention because, as Kim said, you are most probably, as everyone else, have unconscious bias in somewhere. So, but the easiest way to start is to offer mentoring. If you believe you have that capability, then I would say go for it. That would really help people. Be a role model, help them access your opportunities, share your resources with them. So that would be my my suggestion. There is just one thing I want to add. Magda, you have told us about the pronouns. Do you know that in Turkish we don't have pronouns? We have just one kind of it. It's not masculine, it's not feminine. It's the same word for living and they say non-living, unliving. I don't know, but for everything we have just one word. So to me, because of the culture I'm coming from, it's so it's so difficult to be conscious, mindful that in English or in German or in French, there are different pronouns. So I guess here what I want to say is sometimes we are not aware that this is really something to be mindful. And for example, now when you said, I just noticed that I haven't in she and her. And I said, why? Because I don't need it in my country. I don't need, because, whether I'm a man or a woman, whether, whatever, my name, my sexuality, they will call me it. So that's why it's really interesting how there are points, there are issues that need to be communicated openly, and I want to thank you for that, because now you made me very conscious of one thing. Thank you. Okay, so
Great.
Rose.
Yes. Okay, so we do have a little bit over 15 minutes left, and we'd like to leave some time for people to ask questions. I guess the last question, just for the panel discussion proper, is how does authentic allyship benefit the organization? So we have people here that work for either the DI department, the HR department, or any other departments in their companies, and they probably want to encourage the leadership or the company to also encourage the employees to be authentic allies. So what benefits does authentic allyship have for organizations or companies? So let's start with Magda, Rana, and then Kim. And I've seen that Magda already unmuted. She was expecting it.
Always. Yeah, I think like again, according to data, 28% of people who identify as LGBTQ plus individuals from Gen Z, they are transgender or non-binary. And only that organization who will be prepared for the creating a safe space for us. So for example, for someone who is going through the transition will have those talents, right? And also here is an information that, oh my God, I lost what I was, yeah, and other thing is like, because sometimes people think we do not have transgender people at the workplace. So the question is why? Why, again, like as Rana and Kim said, why you don't have, if always you are using, for example, male and female, and in many cases you losing transgender individuals who are non-binary, because it's also possible. And again, my experience is living in a country like Poland is like, I felt so many times the people expect from me the things like long hair, big boobs, and those kind of things. And each day they are repeating it. So according to the organizations, let's make the workplace safe for everyone. And other thing is like, when I'm sharing the story of my transition, I'm saying it's not only for transgender people, because when I'm saying about small boobs, like so many female, like cis female, are feeling what I'm saying about. And when we again come to the organizations, it's like, I believe each group, the marginalized group, should speak up, because I feel power to speak for transgender people, and also the people from all kind of marginalized groups, they should say loud about their expectations to be listened. Expectations in the meaning needs, what they need, because in the organizations we are overloaded with everything, and we do have a lot of things, and we need people who will listen us, right? Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So I'm gonna come from a different perspective, and as someone who's working with leaders about the organizational culture, and have a lot of conversation with HR, I'm going to start with the talent acquisition. You know, it's really important if you have a culture of inclusiveness and belonging. You know, there are so many researchers. There is a research of McKinsey from 2020, and there is a research from Center for Talent Innovation, you know, from 2021. And you can easily see that more than 30%, approximately 40% of people who are applying for a job, they turn down the job offer because they believe the culture is not inclusive enough. So Allyship is a diversity and inclusion tool for for creating that culture. It's a tool. So if you can use that mechanism, that tool, then you may have a D&I culture in the company, a diversity that might increase the creativity and the innovation within the company. And then inclusion, you may increase retention, you may increase employee engagement, and you may create psychological safety for your employees to speak up, to raise the flag and show you the problems so that you can solve. And the last thing, I guess, it's also extremely important if you are, Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, the number 3 about the well-being of people. I think organizations have or should have a responsibility on the well-being of their employees. And then, there is a research of BCG, and in that research of 2021, the employees that are working, who are working in a company that have an inclusive culture, 81% said that they are happy and their well-being, is fine. So 81%. That's what allyship may bring to the company, in my opinion. Kim?
I'll just add a few more points. So I think it's fair to say that no organization can thrive in the most complete understanding of that word if each individual within it isn't thriving. If you can't be yourself at work, then how are you expected to bring all of your fresh, unique ideas and experiences and suggestions that are going to benefit the company? And ultimately, what allies do is they create an environment that allows everyone to participate. And that can only really be a positive thing for an organization. And I think that just supports everything that Magda and Rana had to say. So I'll stop talking there.
Great. Thank you so much, Kim, Magda, and Rana.